Today, I'm gonna talk about the following things. I'm sure that if you are here, it means that you know something about burnout. But I want to start with a little refresher about what burnout is and share with you a little story about my own experience of fighting burnout. Then I'll talk about the list of red flags that help you notice burnout early and how to create your own list because it's a personal thing. After that, I'm gonna talk about short-term and long-term things that you can do for yourself to heal successfully. And I'll finish with some bits of advice about how to avoid burnout at all. But before we start, a little slide about me, why you should even listen to me, because I'm not a therapist. I'm just a random guy in the internet. I can say that I'm recovering workaholic. I used to work a lot in one of the biggest tech companies in Europe. I worked there for 8 years, and during that time, I got burnout twice actually. And after the second one and some time for reflection, I decided to share my experience. But I should note here that I will not tell you some ultimate truth about burnout. There are different types of situations, and everyone has their own story. I just want to share mine. So let's move on topic. What is burnout? I like this picture on the right part of the slide with a vending machine and with a sign that the light inside has broken, but it still works. And I think that this picture describes quite well what burnout looks like. When I got burnout, I really felt that the light inside me had broken. But let's speak about it in more strict terms. Burnout is a long-lasting combination of such feelings like exhaustion, cynicism, and inefficacy. It's not just a few days at work. It lasts weeks and even months. Sometimes it lasts long enough to become a new default state for you, to make you think that it was always with you. It's not just a fatigue, it's not just tiredness, it's a constant lack of energy when you just can't restore it with rest and from the weekends. It makes you emotional distant from work, and it makes you think that everything is doomed and nothing good will happen anymore. You become more cynical about your work. And finally, it makes you lose your belief in yourself, and it makes you doubt that you can be a professional and that you can do your job well. And like any long-lasting phenomena, it doesn't develop in one day. It's a process. So let's discuss the stages and how burnout appears. To illustrate burnout stages, I want to share you the story about my first burnout. I just got my master's degree and got a job in this big IT company. It was my dream job, and I was eager to prove myself. So I started to work really hard. I was so inspired and so engaged. I was so in love with my job that I didn't notice how time was flying. I could skip my lunch, obviously. I was working late and working from home, sometimes even on weekends. And of course, everyone around me did the very same things. All these young folks after the university, uh, they worked really hard, and it was it was some high competitive environment, a lot of pressure, strict deadlines, demanding bosses, and that's it. But it was all right. It was like honeymoon. I was working a lot, and I was happy about it because I loved my work. Some time passes. I successfully finished some projects. I know my colleagues. I'm a competent worker. I know what I'm doing, but not everything is fine. There are some good days, some bad days. Sometimes work takes more from me than it used to, and I'm starting to sleep less to maintain the same pace. Sometimes I use alcohol to relax after tough days. And at this point, I'm a little stressed, but I don't notice it. And instead of recovery, I just continue to work. And this is a stress phase, or sometimes it's called balancing phase, because it's not too early to bring things back to balance, but not only if you ignore all the time. So some more time passes, and now I'm chronically stressed. I feel irritated and resentful when someone asks me about anything, or my manager gives me another project. And at this point, I get something scary when I'm so anxious that I can't relax on the weekend, on Sundays, and start thinking about next week and next Monday, even on Sunday. So I can't rest, but I am constantly anxious. And eventually, I'm starting to procrastinate and miss deadlines. I feel emotional distance from my work and disengaged. I think that everything is doomed and it won't change. I'm starting to doubt my ability to get the work done. So yeah, that's it. That's burnout phase. And moreover, later this state really becomes a new default for me. I can't even remember that some time ago I worked much better and and now I keep thinking that I'm an efficient, unprofessional person who creates more harm than profits, and I should be fired actually. And this is what they call the habitual burnout phase. So yeah, this is my story, and maybe some parts of it resonate with you. But now I want to highlight some stages. The trickiest thing about burnout is that we actually notice its signs when it's too late, when much damage has already been done, and when it's really a default state. But it would be much better for us if we manage to notice it early, like here on the left part of the slide. So my goal here is to give you some instruments that will help you to notice it early. Let's talk about the list of red flags. As I said before, it's a personal thing. It's a list of personal triggers that may help you understand that something is happening. I compiled one for me after my second burnout when I decided to analyze what signs I saw but missed. And the first one is the vacation is not working. Right after I come back to the office, in a week or so, I started to think that I'm already exhausted and I need another vacation, but it's not an option. I had no energy for new things. Like I stopped to read new books. I stopped watch new movies or search for a new place for lunch, because new things are energy consuming, and my organism was trying to conserve all energy it had left. Any communication became stressful for me. I could ignore some chats or emails for hours or even days, even from my bosses, and it really harmed me because people get angry when you ignore them. I already mentioned Sunday scaries. Instead of enjoying the weekend and resting, I was anxious about all the work that was waiting for me on Monday at the office. At some points, I just couldn't get up from my bed. I had to drag myself to work, and apparently, this is this is not good. I even started to think that it would be better for me if I got sick or maybe even fired, because that would mean that I might stop my work. And the last thing to say, I couldn't separate my work from the rest part, from the other parts of my life. Like all my time was consumed by work, and actually nothing left of my life except for work stress and constant anxiety. So yeah, that's the list, or at least part of it. And as I said, it's personal. You can't just take mine and use it for you because you have different triggers. So let's create a list for you. Here I have some leading questions that may help you to compile your own list. Like, what did you do before all that happened? Try to compare your current version of yourself with a less stressful and less exhausted version of yourself. What used to please you? What gave you energy? What did you stop doing recently? Maybe your blog, or maybe you stopped doing exercises or dropped any other hobby. I also encourage you to ask your family and your friends and colleagues what has changed in you, because they may point out something that you forgot about yourself. But here is the pro tip, I guess. If you can't remember anything useful, or you have no idea about how to answer these questions, it may be a sign of more serious condition. It may be a sign of depression. So in this case, I strongly advise you to see a specialist and not to listen to a random guy like me. Okay, we've got our list. What do we do now? Let's talk about some short-term things that you need to do right away when you understand that there are too many red flags on site. First of all, you need to admit that something is happening, that it's not just a bad day or two, and it's a long-lasting thing, and you really need to focus on your recovery. It's a necessary step, because without it, you can't make any progress. Second step is please don't blame yourself, because that's obviously not helping you. And moreover, your current state may be even not your fault. It may be a result of poor management at work, or some conditions within your family, or maybe it's just work that takes too much from you. And this your current state, it's not you actually. It's just a more exhausted and even maybe depressed version of yourself. And you can be healed. So please, don't push yourself too much. Third one, inform people around you. Talk to your partner and for your family at home, and to your manager and colleagues at work. Tell them what's happening, and try adjust the expectation from you, because spoiler alert, they shouldn't expect too much from you, at least at this time. Fourth and fifth points are the most important, I guess. Fourth is slow down. You should work less. And the fifth is try to cut off the sources of biggest stress. And let me give you some more details about the last 2 points. Maybe you have heard something about the law of holes. It says that if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing to do is start digging. And when we are talking about burnout, by digging, we mean working. So how do you achieve that? First of all, I encourage you to set up a strict schedule, like working 7-8 hours a day and no more. I guess this is the most difficult step for any hardworking person, but from my point of view, and I really learned it a hard way, it's a necessary step if you want to recover. Because you are in this situation because of working too much, and working more is not gonna help you. Next step is no work from home. If you're working remotely, I advise you to try to work from a co-working station, or at least from a different room in your apartment, or even in different clothes for work. Any solution that helps you to draw the line between your work and your rest will be all right. Your goal is to separate these two parts of your life. The third step is one of the most helpful pieces of advice I ever got. Try to turn off notifications from emails and chats. It may help you to significantly decrease the feeling of anxiety and increase your ability to focus when you are not touching your phone every 2 minutes. Yes, there is a such thing like fear of missing out, but it might not be true for you. Just try it for a week and listen to yourself. Just try to measure your level of anxiety. Everyone who got this advice, from my perspective, say that it helps. But obviously, if you decide to follow this advice, you should inform your colleagues about your decision, because they may be still expecting from you an interaction. The next one is don't try to be online 24/7. It's like a continuation of the previous step. If you turned off notification, you may fall to a trap of constant refreshing your email clients or your chats. So please don't. The goal of all these steps or exercises is to get you some room to breathe, some space to maneuver, and by constantly refreshing your phone, it's quite opposite thing. And the last part is about to rebalancing your workload. That's why you need the support from your manager, as I said before. You should talk to them. If you have some parts of work that makes you feel frustrated, maybe there are ways to reassign it to someone else. So talk to your manager and explore your options. Now I want to move on to long-term strategies. At first about the ones that won't help you, but it may not be obvious. The first best strategy is to think that it will just pass. Unfortunately, it will not. Because one part of the answer to why you're experiencing burnout is that you might already ignore previous signs and did nothing about it. So now is the time to actually do something. The second best strategy is to try to work even more. If you think that you are just temporarily swamped and you just need to gather your strength and sort out this mess, it's unlikely gonna work because the to-do list is infinite and there are always new projects. So by working more, you just keep digging and you will find yourself in a more deep hole. And the last one here is changing place of work, but with a little asterisk, and I'm gonna cover it a little bit later. In general, I don't recommend you to change the place of work because when they hire you at new place, they expect a lot from you. And they expect that they're hiring a person in a good fit who will boost their business to the moon. And it's highly unlikely that you'll manage to do that in a state of burnout. So you just will be burnout, but in a new place. And about that asterisk, actually, I recovered from my first burnout after I changed the place I work, but I cheated. It wasn't a new company. I just changed the team within the company where I was working. And I had a very generous transition period for a few months when I finished my projects in my old team without taking any new projects. And I spent enough time to getting up to speed in my new team. So you may try that, but only if you have enough time to recover. And from my experience, it's gonna be around few months. And otherwise, I wouldn't recommend this strategy. Let's now talk about strategies that do help from my perspective. The first one is paying your work debt. You should try to reduce the amount of unfinished work at any cost because it drains a lot of mental energy from you. All the time you have this returning thought about, I should have this done already. So maybe you have watched a TV show called The Game of Thrones, and there was a Lannister family that had this motto, Lannister always pay their debts. So I encourage you to be a Lannister and pay your work debts. It will save you a lot of energy. And maybe you should consider the idea of just dropping some projects without finishing it at all. And once again, that's why you need your manager's support here. Second strategy, try to find a quick win because it will help you to remove the sense of ineffectiveness. It could be found both at work or at home. Maybe it's a project that nobody believes in but you, and this project can bring benefits quickly. Maybe it's a sport or a hobby, but I want to warn you about sports, because you should do it only if it gives you energy, not drains the remainder of it. For me, personally, it was running. At some point, I started running from time to time, and I managed to make real progress quite soon. I run faster and faster and will run longer and longer distances. At some points, I managed to run a half marathon, and after that, a full marathon. That gave me a lot of inspiration and decreased my feeling on and decreased my feeling of inefficacy. So maybe it's your way. The next one, meditation. I know that it may be a controversial practice. It's not for anyone, but from my experience, it calms your mind, reduces anxiety, and the most important thing that is teaches you to listen to yourself. It was extremely helpful for me, but I can understand that this is not for everyone. Yeah. But if you are interested, I can advise you applications like Headspace and Balance. The next one, mentorship or therapy, in this particular order, because it may be more helpful for you to have a mentor, because they not only give you general reassurances, but it's a person who understands something about your work and may give you real useful advice about your work. During my second burnout, I had a mentor, and he was helping me a lot, not by hearing my complaints, but about some actions that I managed to do. And the last one is sabbatical. It's a long-time vacation without any work, and it's extreme measure, and not every employee will give it to you. But I think that is it's most effective way just to stop working for a while. But I understand that not everyone can afford it. As for me, I just quit for my job for a while, and it took me up to 3 months to recover. And I assume that if you are continuing your work, it will take you longer than that to fully recover. So yeah, that's all about the strategies. Now I want to tell you how to avoid burnout. And the trickiest thing here is that if you could easily avoid burnout, you would. As I said before, the signs are subtle and we usually ignore them, and we eventually find ourselves in a hole when it's too late. But there are some bits of advice that I can share with you. First of all, you should change your perspective, because you should focus more on taking care of yourself. No one would do it for you. And yes, work is an essential part of our lives, like 1/3 of it, but don't neglect the other 2/3. You know what they say in airplanes when talking about safety? Firstly, you should put on the mask on yourself, and after that on someone else. So please be more focused on your recovery and your about taking care of yourself. The second one is you need to set up some boundaries, like your work schedule that we discussed before, or any work routine or habits like checking your email only twice a day. It's a very useful strategy, because we live in the world of information, and everyone and everything, every app in our phone wants to get as much your attention as it could. But so yeah, set up your boundaries and protect them. Next one, listen to yourself. And meditation could help here a lot. Listen to yourself and don't miss the signs of burnout when it's not too late. And the last one is don't be afraid to change something. And I want to emphasize that with some quotation. It's a quote from a real psychiatrist, a German psychiatrist who founded a positive psychotherapy approach. And he had a book with the title on the slide. If you want something you never had, then do something that you never did. So for our situation is like, if you want to heal or avoid burnout, you should change your habits and your approach to work. So to wrap my speech up, I put some key ideas on the slides. If you are going to remember only 3 points, let it be these ones. As I said before, burnout is a tricky thing, and it starts with a honeymoon stage, when everything is fine, and you are happy about your work. So listen to yourself, be careful about it, don't miss it, because it may be the first step of a potential burnout. As I already said, set up and protect your boundaries, because otherwise you will be consumed by work and by other people's needs. And know your triggers. Create a checklist for yourself to judge and look at it from time to time, just to check if you are in a bad situation already or everything is fine for now. So yeah, that's all I have for you for today. Thank you so much for listening. Now we have some time for questions. If you have any, please type them in the Q&A section below. Now I'm gonna look at it. Like for now, I have 2. John says that he's juggling 2 jobs because he can't live on one currently, and this keeps him on screen for approximately 15 or even 80 hours a day. Wow, that's tough. So, John, I guess that you are already understanding the difficulty of the situation. You definitely need to find a job with better work-life balance. I don't know your situation, why you are need to juggle between 2 jobs. Maybe it's your finance situation or family situation. I don't know, but I don't think that you can have enough rest with this work schedule. So I hope you will find a job that will pay you enough and will have more strict work schedule, because that's what I was trying to say when I said don't try to push yourself too much, and working 80 hours a day with so less to sleep. Yeah, please change your work. Jeff writes, what was the last how to avoid burnout point you had on the slide? I missed it. It was about, let me show it for you. It's about listening to yourself, Jeff. It's about knowing what you need most and when you need to stop working, when you need resting, and maybe to know, to getting know that this work is not gonna make you happy, that you are working on something that you loved once, but it's not the case anymore. So yeah, please listen to yourself and your needs, because no one knows it better than you. And Dominic asks what books or online courses I recommend. That's a good one. I don't have a list at the moment, but I guess that this is the good question to continue our discussion on the event page. So yeah, if you have any question that you can't ask right now, I encourage you to ask them on the web page. I promise you that I'm gonna answer all of them, and let this one be there. I share some sources. It's a tricky one for me because my primary language is Russian, and most of my sources are in Russian. But I hope that I will find something. Okay. Uh, no more questions for now. I'm looking to the chat. Thank you all for such kind words. Thank you. Yeah, Abid, I hope I pronounce your name properly. I see a question that you have a project which is going good, and glad it happy too, but you still feel anxiety that you left behind on the learning curve. Feels like sick of coding, and I may get fired. Um, okay, I understand what I trying to say. I would recommend you to ask your colleagues for a feedback, because when I'm reading your question, the first thing I want to know is why you are feeling that you are left behind on the learning curve. Is it your thought, or is it someone else's thought? Uh, I encourage you to talk with your colleagues and with your manager especially, and ask them for feedback, because good feedback helps a lot to fight the struggle and to fight the anxiety. And if you don't get any, it may be a sign of something serious. But it's better. It's better than to know that to guess. So yeah. Oh, you're a developer learning GCP. It's a infinite area to learn, and maybe you can try some online courses from Google to get some certification, and maybe you'll find out that you are really a competent engineer in that area, and maybe it will reduce your feeling of anxiety. Okay, we have 5 more minutes for questions. So if you want to ask something, ask me now. Okay, no more question. No more questions as I see it. So let's say that that's our time for today is over. And oh, the last question, I guess. So how much a person can learn? We can't learn everything. Yes, you are right. We can't learn everything. We can't know everything. But actually, it's not necessary, because no one knows everything. And the I guess our goal is to find proper position for ourselves where we can use our knowledge in a most effective way. If let's see on example, like if you are a software engineer and you are not interested in modern technologies like GCP or AWS or Kubernetes, and maybe if it's not so interesting for you, maybe it's a sign of that you just don't need to be a software engineer. Explore your options. Maybe you are more interested in talking to people or to solving people's problems, or maybe you are more interested in, I don't know, design or working on a product like a product manager. Yes, you can't learn everything, and if they are still demanding it from you, just try to find more interesting area for you. That would be my advice, I guess. Okay, looks like I answered that question. So once again, thank you all for having me here. Let's continue. Every time I'm trying to over the theme, I get another question. So Jeff writes, he's trying to transition from a public safety background into software engineer. And he has completed a boot camp, yeah, and find himself getting stuck and getting frustrated when coding. Jeff, I guess that you need to find a mentor for yourself, because I know that feeling that when you're just finished your courses and you're like a junior specialist, and it's maybe really frustrating for you to not seeing any progress at what you are doing. It may be a mentor at work if you're working, if you are already working as a software engineer. It may be mentor on some internet platform like Codementor IO. Maybe you find someone who can help you with with your future career as a software engineer. So yeah, don't hesitate to ask for help, because you can spend a lot of time with this in this. I just mentored with a senior engineer yesterday. Yeah, that's what you should do. Please continue, and you will find yourself in a better position when someone helps you. Yeah, you are doing the right thing. So yeah, that's it. Let's wrap it up. And if you have any more questions, please ask them on the event page in the comments section. I will answer them. Thank you again, everyone, for being here, and goodbye.